actually take the last question, I'm sorry, but you can certainly come up and speak to him after. So, how do you bring it home? I mean, you know, everybody, the former president has a commanding lead. The polls, I know polls are polls, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not. But, I mean, how do you bring it home? That was a question that you answered. I thought it was quite relevant, so I stole it. So, there you go.
Right here. Look, this is it. All right? New Hampshire's going to decide whether we're going to have the rule of law respected in this country or not. New Hampshire's going to decide whether law and order applies to everyone or just some people. New Hampshire's going to decide whether we're going to have another 4 years of Joe Biden or we're not. Okay? New Hampshire's going to decide. And I have complete confidence in the people of this state that when you have the opportunity to really think about these issues, you'll think about them the right way. I think that if Donald Trump's our nominee, he will lose. He lost to Joe Biden before. By the way, the only person to ever lose to Joe Biden outside the state of Delaware. Now, I can understand why you would be embarrassed and upset about that, but it doesn't mean the election was stolen. And so, we can't have that happen. We just can't. And whether you think any of the treatment of the former president is fair, unfair, a mix of both, I'd be in the category of a mix of both. But in the end, we've got to start nominating people who can win again. We have not won since 2016, everybody. We lost the House in 2018. We lost the White House in 2020. We lost the Senate in 2021. In 2022, we lost 2 more governorships. When I left as chairman of the Republican Governors Association, we had 31 governorships. We are now down to 26. We are 2 away from being minority governors in this country. And we lost another seat in the U.S. Senate in 2022 and barely won the House of Representatives, 5-vote margin, when it was supposed to be a red wave. Why? We had a leader of our party who was picking candidates based upon whether they would agree with him the election had been stolen or not. That was it. You can't justify some of the candidates. And you live this right up here. You had a nominee for Senate in this state who said all through the primary the election was stolen. I'm not changing horses in midstream. I'm going to do this. And then I watched it. The day after the primary, he went on Fox News and said, you know, I've been thinking about this, and I think that maybe it wasn't stolen. Now look, people expect folks in politics to gently flip-flop every once in a while. They don't expect that kind of move. These are all the things you've got to think about. And the reason I believe that New Hampshire can and will do it is because I've seen you do it before. When everybody thinks they've got you figured out, you're not. And by the way, when we talk about polls, I will talk for a minute about the fact that I've been in this race for 3 months. 3 months ago when I got in, I was at 0 in New Hampshire. In the last poll, I was at 14. And in second place, ahead of Ron DeSantis, ahead of Vivek, ahead of Nikki, ahead of Mike Pence, and only behind one guy. And you will notice that he's not coming to the debates. And that he has lots of awful, horrible things to say about me. It seems like the only 2 people he says anything bad about are me and Ron DeSantis. Why? Because he thinks we're the only 2 who could possibly beat him. You won't hear him say it. Vivek is practically his running mate. You won't say anything bad about him. Nikki can't quite figure out whether she's for him or against him. So until she's firmly against him, he'll say nothing bad about her. Mike Pence he's deeply disappointed in, but he's not spending any time talking about him either. Because he doesn't think Mike can beat him. Here's what I promise you. I will not lead in New Hampshire in one poll. Not in one. Until election night. Not until election night. In the same way John McCain didn't lead in one poll in 2000 until he beat George W. Bush by 18 points on primary night in 2000. People in New Hampshire are smart, and that's the path, Scott, because let me tell you, if New Hampshire gives me the votes to beat Donald Trump on primary night in New Hampshire, this whole race and all these polls you see and everything else will change overnight. Because I think much of the former president's support is based upon inevitability. That people think, well, all right, he's going to be the nominee, so I might as well be for him. The minute they know that it's not a foregone conclusion, and they'll know that because of what you all do, the whole race changes. And, you know, I've now come up here a lot. I came up here for Scott. I've been up here for Walt Havenstein when he ran for governor. I was up here for Kelly Ayotte. I've been up here as a presidential candidate 8 years ago. I spent a lot of time in New Hampshire. And what all of you tell me is that you take this responsibility seriously. And by your presence here tonight, you're proving that. You take this responsibility seriously. You have never had, in my opinion, a greater responsibility than the one you have this time. Because you're going to determine, you are going to determine the future path of our party and the future path of our country. I got into this because no one was willing to take it directly to Donald Trump. That's what I felt as I was watching it develop. And it got confirmed for me and you on that debate stage 3 weeks ago. Other than Asa, no one else was willing to take him on. In fact, one of the guys running said he was the greatest president of the 21st century. So my question is, what the hell are you running for? If he's the greatest president of the 21st century and you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, put all your money behind it and get him reelected. What the hell are you running for? So I want to make it really clear why. Because I don't want Joe Biden for another 4 years. And worse yet, I don't want Kamala Harris for any number of years. Right? And that's what we're facing. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to be fighting. You're never going to have to wonder what I think. You know, when you're willing to get booed by an arena of 10,000 people, anything else that can happen doesn't really much matter. You're going to hear the same things out of me. That's why I didn't raise my hand, and I will never raise my hand to say it's okay to have a convicted felon as the President of the United States. And so let's establish that here on primary night in New Hampshire. And if you do that, I'm telling you, I will win the nomination, and I will beat Joe Biden. I have no doubt in my mind about that. Yes, I think Joe Biden's going to run. I think he's going to continue to run until he can't run anymore. So the only proviso I would give to that is if, you know, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but if he had some really serious health problem that prevented him from doing it, I think that's the only thing that prevents him. I think then you get Kamala Harris. Congratulations. So remember something. These days are precious days for you to come with Scott and Gail to these events. And I want you to go to all of them. I want you to listen to everybody. I want you to take all these people who have offered themselves as candidates seriously. They deserve to be treated seriously. It's not easy to run for president. And I have respect for anybody who's willing to put themselves forward this way. I just, in the end, want you to listen. And I believe if you listen and you're guided by what you believe is best for your family, best for your state, and best for our country, that I'll earn your vote. And when we do that, I promise you that I'm going to restore faith and trust and decency to the presidency. And it's been a while, in my view, since we've had it. And it's time we get it back, no matter whether you're red or blue. What matters is that this country continues to stand for what it's always stood for. So I want to thank Scott and Gail. Thank you.
Let's give it up for them. So what I'd like to do now is, if it's all right with you, we have an interview upstairs, but if it's okay with you, people come up, say hello, get pictures?
Yeah.
Great. So you know the drill, just hand me your cameras, we'll bang it out, and then go get a hot dog and a beer and